Did you know that crows are the Einsteins of the natural world? Don't believe it? Take a look at this experiment. In it, a New Caledonian crow is trying to get a treat. She understands that she won't reach him with her beak, so she took a stick. But this stick is not enough to reach the treat, so there are 4 next to it, 4 other sticks in the vials, and one of them is longer than the others. The crow employs an old stick to extract the longest one, and then proceeds to take the treat along with it. Yes, crows are not only intelligent birds, they might be among the most intelligent animals besides humans. A meta-analysis investigating innovation in food acquisition in the wild has demonstrated that crows are the most innovative birds. Showing the ability to search for food, crows even surpassed mammals. Ornithologists claim that the mental and cognitive abilities of crows are on par with those of human-like primates. It's truly surprising that the brains of liars, similar to those of the smartest monkeys, have developed the ability to perform geometric measurements. Thanks to this, the crow from this experiment comprehended what stick she requires. In this video, we will learn how the Vranovs use tools, solve complex tasks with numbers, and even deceive other animals. Why do they remember people's faces? What is their sense of humor? And how can their behavior help us better understand the evolution of intelligence in the animal world? There is a concept called brain encephalization factor. This is the ratio of brain mass to body mass of the animal. In crows, this degree is very high, and they have one of the highest degrees of encephalization among birds and are very close to monkeys. This means they have a large brain compared to their body. Although some knowledgeable people may tell me the total number of neurons in crows is significantly inferior. There are only 600 million against tens of billions for a person. However, birds have developed spherical complexes of cells that are just as efficient as neuronal columns in the brains of mammals. People think that intelligence is proportional to the size or mass of the brain, but for obvious reasons, bird brains must be light. For this purpose, nature has reconfigured the bird's brain so that there are many more connections per unit volume than in humans. Or vice versa, birds do exist much longer than primates. Their sharpness of intellect can be noticed in the experiments conducted with them. For instance, scientists from Auckland and Cambridge unis did an experiment. In a vessel filled halfway with water, there was a treat, food. To get it, the crow had to raise the liquid level by immersing stones in it. All the feathered subjects easily solved this problem after several attempts, and the number of successful outcomes was much higher than 50%, which ruled out randomness. Moreover, the cleverest birds chose bigger and heavier stones. And this really intrigued scientists, because even children under 7 years old could not solve this problem with water and cargo the first time. That is, the Vranovia are the first non-human creatures to solve this problem. These birds can not only distinguish substances, use the laws of physics, but also solve complex logical tasks in general. They can calmly count to 5, which was also proven in experiments using a logic trap set up by farmers. This is literally mathematics from the animal world. Researchers have discovered that New Caledonian crows not only use individual objects as tools, but they can also create new composite tools by assembling non-functional elements. That is, they literally know how to craft things. Experiments by Russian researchers have already shown that crows can detect similarities by analogy. That is, they have the ability to group objects into specific categories without any prior training. Possess, overseas, consumable, inedible, hazardous, secure, and so forth, and this is already an indication of abstract thinking. Crows have the ability to crack nuts on the road or lift the lids of garbage cans one by one while their comrades gather food. In Japan, crows have learned to utilize public drinking fountains for obtaining water and engaging in bathing activities. In the Gumyozi Park in Yakagame, crows displayed their capability to activate these highly visible drinking fountains and control the water flow to an appropriate level for bathing or drinking. Control the water flow, Carl. And in fact, it's not that surprising because it has been discovered that the Western jackdaw and the Eurasian magpie, which are also from the crow family, have a neocortex of approximately the same relative size as the functionally equivalent neocortex in chimpanzees and humans. But why do they need it? They seem to be birds, figuratively dumber. Why do they need such a brain in the wild environment? First and foremost, wolverines reside in some of the most severe conditions on Earth, where survival necessitates greater intelligence and improved adaptation. Secondly, the majority of crows are omnivorous, which provides information that they are subjected to a broader range of stimuli and the environment. Furthermore, a multitude of crow species reside in extensive family groups and showcase a remarkable level of social complexity. What is the definition of social complexity? The hypothesis of social complexity suggests that residing in a social group enhances the cognitive abilities of animals. To live in such a large group, they must be able to recognize each other and keep track of what is happening around them. Crows have the ability to distinguish each other based on gender, age, and even social status. Moreover, crows can utilize info about other individuals to their advantage and benefit from it. For instance, if one crow discovers food, it can draw in other crows who are aware of and have confidence in it. Moreover, deceivers can alert each other about danger by using info on individuals in the vicinity. There is even an experiment that tested the social behavior of crows. During this experiment, the birds were required to work together, namely simultaneously pulling on different ends of the rope to move the container with treats. If you only pull on one end, the rope simply gets stretched on one side. Crows were able to cope with the test in 80% of the cases. Furthermore, scientists have found that solving the problem's success and speed depend on bird relationships. However, one of the most remarkable experiments was the experiment that revealed that crows possess an ability that is exclusive to humans. This skill is referred to as the theory of consciousness. In other words, crows possess the ability to evaluate the emotional and mental state of other members of their species. The results of the experiment confirmed the existence of negative emotional contagion in crows. That is, crows are capable of both distinguishing negative emotions in their fellow crows and showing signs of empathy. And moreover, they have what is called social memory. They remember not only their friends, enemies for several years, but also the voices of other birds. And they can even recognize people by face, and not only to find out, but also to understand by the face when you are sad and when you are happy. In a study, scientists determined that crows have the ability to modify their behavior based on human emotions. They also assumed that high intelligence in early humans allows them to adapt well to an environment dominated by humans. These smart birds understand gestures, distinguish a conditional stick from a gun, and liars have self-control. Add the fact that birds have intelligence. As part of one of the studies, crows were asked to wait to have a snack, because if they wait, they can get tastier food. Crows have frequently managed to control their appetite because they were aware that they would receive a superior reward in the future if they simply persevered. However, do you know what truly distinguishes a smart animal? It is their remarkable ability to deceive others. Crows can deceive other creatures with their resourcefulness and cunning. They mimic sounds of other birds or animals to lure them in, showcasing their cleverness. These entities have the ability to replicate the sound of a human voice, demonstrating their remarkable mimicry skills. In addition, crows can create false tracks to confuse predators and hide their true locations. And they do not only deceive animals, but sometimes even scientists. When it came to tasks involving spatial thinking, crows demonstrated very poor results, and biologists were astonished because crows frequently execute highly impressive maneuvers to conceal their prey in different caches. It is possible that intensive observations by experimenters could have influenced the distortion of the results. Perhaps some crows deliberately made a mistake to deceive potential competitors in the face of scientists, just as they do with their fellow crows in the wild. But sometimes crows can deceive for a joke. Although crows cannot joke in the sense that humans do, they can show their sense of humor and playfulness. For example, they can play with their kin, hide food from each other, and pretend they don't notice its presence. They can also utilize tools for entertainment and games. For instance, they hurl sticks and catch them in the air. Crows also love to pull the tails of other animals, which are often much larger than themselves. Sometimes they do it just to distract the animal from its prey, and sometimes just for fun. There are even documented instances when crows slid down hills or from the roofs of buildings on old bottle caps or cans purely for the purpose of amusement. Crows' humor is not random, but the ability to use it for various purposes, showcasing their sense of wit. They can use humor for entertainment, strengthening social bonds, and even problem solving. This indicates that crows are not only intelligent but also very social birds that can communicate with each other, with other animals, and even people. Many behaviorists, those scientists who study animal behavior, consider playfulness to be an inherent quality of intelligent animals. Yes, humor and playfulness show intelligence, but you know what's even more surprising? Maybe crows have consciousness and culture. For instance, the Eurasian magpie is the only non-mammal species that can recognize itself in a mirror test. It was also observed that magpies participate in complex mourning rituals, which are compared to human funerals, including the act of laying wreaths made of grass. In addition, they have, you can say, almost like a sport. Crows can engage in competition in the air to establish a hierarchy. All this affects our understanding of the evolution of intelligence. First of all, the cerebral cortex is not such a necessary thing. There are alternative anatomical means and methods to achieve the identical outcome, so you do not have to possess billions of neural connections. Secondly, either consciousness evolution is very ancient, dating back almost to the last common ancestor of mammals and birds about 300 million years ago, or, which is no less intriguing, consciousness arose at least twice independently in mammals and birds. We are used to seeing crows as ordinary birds, which we see almost every day, and externally they do not differ much from other birds. However, when looking at their behavior and examining their brains, we have come to understand that crows have the ability to use tools, to count, and to... In a team, they can communicate with each other, joke, deceive, while also showing care. They can recognize human faces and even mimic human voice. Lying birds recognize themselves in the mirror, have self-control, and even have status in social groups. No, not the status in V-contacte, but I mean hierarchical status. Having knowledge is a form of consciousness that can be comprehended and understood by an individual. And the realization that more and more animals seem to possess the same thing raises serious questions about animal intelligence. Lying birds are interesting birds that continue to amaze us with their high level of intelligence and adaptability. We should study them and their intelligence to better understand the evolution of intelligence and consciousness in animals and, of course, in ourselves, in humans. Furthermore, comprehending the intelligence in early humans can assist us in conserving their species, which has recently been endangered by habitat loss and hunting conducted by humans. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, like it, be sure to follow all the links in the description. There is a lot of interesting stuff there. And of course, remember, thinking is useful.